It's the Brad and John Show.
And for reference, this is December 20th. Jeez, hard to believe it's the 20th of December. Is that right? December 20th? I got that right?
We're coming up on the winter solstice, Brad.
Yes, tomorrow. That's right. The shortest day of the year is one of my favorite days, because starting tomorrow, the days start to get longer, because I hate this.
Yeah, hey, the shortest day but the longest night, Brad. That's what you tell your girlfriends, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Okay. I teased it in the previous episode. Sarah Fenske. John, I don't know her. I think I told you I talked to her once. She's so good at this. Why can't they get her back full time at KWMU? She just does because she is starting her own. She's leading St. Louis Magazine, bringing it back to relevance and filling the void that was left by the departure of the Riverfront Times. Well, that's why, Brad. And Brad, who in their right mind that's an accomplished professional that should be in their prime earning years would donate their time to a station not making any money like St. Louis Public Radio? Who would salvage their future and throw away their prime earning years with a radio station that's not interested in making money? Sarah Fenske? John's making a little bit of a dig there. Okay, Sarah Fenske has how often does she do that? Is it like once a month, twice a month?
I think the legal roundtable is once a month. Yeah.
Okay, she has 3 attorneys on there, and they debate the abortion thing. And it's interesting because, once again, these are 3 attorneys, all have their bar license. They all went to a law school, and all 3 of them have a different opinion, which makes it so interesting of why this abortion bill or the abortion amendment is so messed up, because of the fact that they didn't come out and say it. But you could sort of read between the lines what they're saying, that if the amendment was crafted a little bit better, you wouldn't have these instances. And essentially, according to the constitutional amendment, abortion is now legal in the state of Missouri. But it's not. And that's the whole thing. You can't get an abortion. Well, you and I can't get an abortion. Well, maybe we can. We can declare ourselves women. We'll say, not only we declare ourselves women, we're declaring ourselves pregnant. But I get the ultrasound. Sir, you're a man, and we did ultrasound. There's no baby. And no, don't tell me that. I'm a woman and I'm pregnant. Because, you can do that now, right? Okay. Anyway,
that's exactly right.
The whole crazy thing is it's like in legal limbo. And to the point where there's all sorts of crazy different things talking about the fact that this is still on the books and the Republicans are suing and this happening. And I'm going, God, what a mess. What a mess. And look at the thing we're still hashing. How long ago was the marijuana amendment, the recreational? Was that 2 years ago? Was that 4 years ago? How long ago was that? 2 years?
The medical marijuana passed in 2020, and then recreational passed in 2022. So yeah, it's been at least 2 full years, Brad, with recreational.
And in less than 2 weeks, we'll be in 2025, and it's still messed up. And once again, it's so frustrating for me to see this, because of the fact that why can't someone craft legislation? I mean, and here's the part of the problem. If you've ever dealt with the law, you got all these convoluted sentences, and you've got all these
clauses and semicolons.
Right. And it's like, okay, this is the way it should be. Okay, paragraph 1. It's now legal to sell marijuana in the state of Missouri. 2, the county gets 3%. 3, the muni gets 3%. 4, the state gets 6%. 5, get high and enjoy yourself. Okay, done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, instead of all the legal mumbo jumbo. And the same thing on the deal with the abortion, because they're talking about there's still elements of this that nobody knows. They're talking about the fact that there's certain things in there about the fact that there's what is it? They talk about viability of the fetus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's nebulous as well too, right? I mean, am I correct on that? There's no.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're right. Yeah, I mean that's subjective unless you put a date on it, I believe.
Right. And it's like, and once again, I'm not being pro or con abortion. I'm essentially saying this is what you get when you have the Republicans, and once again, we have a Republican supermajority in the House of Representatives still going forward into next year when they all get, inaugurated or knighted or whatever they're going to be. And you will have a Republican supermajority in the House and the Senate, correct?
That's correct, Brad.
A Republican governor, and every single, if I'm not mistaken, correct me on this because you're the expert on this, every single state government official is a Republican. Isn't that correct? I mean, all the...
You're exactly right. Now, the marijuana czar, Brad Bradshaw, He's an independent, so he doesn't count.
Sometimes I think we would have been better off with the Brad Bradshaw amendment when he would say, "Hey, don't talk to the Supreme Court. Talk to me. I'm the czar."
Exactly right. He's the emperor of all things cannabis, Brad. What's wrong with that? No, your point's well taken, Brad. I mean, and at a legal roundtable too. I mean, no matter what happened in the abortion vote, there was going to be a lawsuit on it anyway, and no matter what happened, there would be representatives that would further try to clarify the law. I think lawmakers' point is that there's so many things, and maybe this is your point too, Brad, is that the way the law is written, if the legislature doesn't define these terms, then Missouri's courts will define these terms.
Right.
So conservative lawmakers say, hey, we might as well move to define viability. We might as well move to define health of the mother. Does health of the mother mean a woman comes in and says, man, I'm having a feeling that having this baby might make me stressed next year. And the doctor says, sold. Here's your ticket.
Right. But and not only that, the situation is, and I am not a big fan of the governmental system in the state of Missouri to begin with, but and in this case, the case that all the legislators made, both the senators and Republicans, they make the point that if it passes as a constitutional amendment and there is flaws in it, they can't do anything about it. But, and this has happened many times, you know this through the history of legislation in the state of Missouri, if there's a law that's passed and then when it actually goes into effect and they realize, the law of unintended consequences kicks in and what they, thought was going to do X turns out to be X minus 2 or something like that, they can go back in and they can tweak it. Once again, that's just, to me, smart legislation. If you have a problem, if you have a bill, it becomes law, and then it turns out to be there's some errors that needs to be corrected, or some areas that are not specifically defined, and people go, well, I'm not exactly sure what this means. The legislatures can go back in and essentially correct it, but on the constitutional amendment, they can't, unless you pass a new constitutional amendment. Isn't that the way it works?
I think so. And I mean, the good thing is, if you look at 2026, this affects your work with Jack Cardetti, Greg Keller, and those folks on Meth for Math. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do it on Heroin for Health, but I know that at least you've secured their services in Meth for Math, and you've emphasized the fact that the law needs to be written much more clearly.
Meth for Math. Hold it now. Heroin for Health, that doesn't address education. But you're the favorite. John, when we talked about this, I've said in the past that we need legal prostitution, and John came up with Escorts for Education, which to me is so funny, because what's so funny about that is 10 years from now, when I'm 99 and pushing that century mark, 10 years from now when I'm 99 and I'm like, one day I'll wake up and I go, hey, Brad, guess what happened? They just passed a law that prostitution is legal. And how did it happen? Hi, I'm Trixie. And yes, I do tricks. And yes, when you take my services, 20% of the money you pay me for sex will go for education. And people go, oh my God, they're going to give 25% of prostitution education? I'm voting for prostitution. And
if you're watching the YouTube version of this, you see a dream sequence in which Brad is laid up at Del Mar Gardens. You see Brad's family sitting around lovingly. Me in the room talking to Brad's kids saying, hey, can I buy the stations now? Can I buy the stations now? Can I buy the stations now? And then Brad gets a call that says, Trixie is here, and she's wearing clear heels. And then I have the family leave the room, and then Brad says, I didn't order a Trixie, and I said, but I did. Yes. And then the dream sequence ends.
Well, but more importantly, as the dream segment ends, I give her $100 bill, and she proceeds to walk down to the school district and give them $25 because
that's exactly
they
right.
get 25.
She takes a little vigorous there. She takes a $75 big.
Right. She gets 75, and she drops a 20 and a 5 at the school district. Okay.
Now, but you know what's good, Brad, though? She took it to Francis Howell, so then Atlas Consulting Group, the contracting group, can take 20 out of the 25 and then give $5 to the school district.
Okay, the second thing on the legal roundtable was they're talking about this crazy, weird, screwed up deal with the county prosecuting attorney. And the same thing.
Snap. You want to give an overview of that if folks don't know, Brad?
Well, it's so bizarre. Paige says, I'm allowed to because of the fact that here's the deal. Because our buddy, your friend and mine, who is the current prosecuting attorney, who's going on to be probably in essentially right from the 20th. The reps get sworn in before the president, don't they? Don't they get sworn in earlier?
Yeah. And so he'll be right after the first of the year.
Right. Okay, so in a couple of weeks, our current St. Louis County prosecutor will become a United States representative. He will take Cori Bush's seat, and that leaves the prosecuting attorney's job open in the county. Well, normally that's an elected position. So the big controversy is who gets to name the replacement. So Sam Page has already named somebody, and the governor has named somebody, not the same person. And I don't. You probably got this in your thing today. That then also apparently the county council has vetoed his person, and now the county council is suing Sam Page. Have you heard about all this crazy weird stuff?
Yeah. So that has to do. That's a little bit separate, but that has to do with the Dennis Hancock issue.
Which is so convoluted. So once again, when the prosecuting attorney, when Mr. Public prosecuting attorney, who essentially is going to take office in U.S. Congress, the minute he's inaugurated, essentially, as of right now, did he already resign? Is he still the prosecuting attorney?
He is still the prosecuting attorney, I believe, Brad. And you've seen this piece recently where Governor Parsons' pick, Melissa Price Smith, says that she got a couple curious phone calls. You saw about this, right?
Yes, and the crazy thing is she's the number 2 person, so to me, doesn't it make more sense? And this other guy, what's his name? Rip Van Winkle?
Ostrin, yeah.
Isn't he related to Ice Baby? Isn't he related to Vanilla Ice?
Van Winkle, yeah, because they have 3 names, they're the same.
Right, okay.
They're kin.
So he already quit his job. He was a federal prosecutor, wasn't it? That was what he did, or something like that?
Correct, yeah.
Right, and he already quit his job, so he's already out of job, and he's like in the middle of this thing saying, dude, you quit your job, and who knows if you have a new job with the county. I mean, because technically, has he actually been hired by the county yet? I don't think he has been, has he?
No, but there are folks like, for example, Jane Duker, and Jane was on Mark Reardon's show talking about this yesterday. I didn't link to it today, but Jane was on there giving some updates about this. Jane's question is, hey, has Court Van Ostrin, does he have a security badge? The county office says that he's already begun transitioning, and not in that way that you did back at WashU back in the day, Brad. But Court Van Ostrin, I guess, has already begun transitioning. So does he have security clearances? Is he already starting his job? Is he being paid? All these questions.
And once again, the interesting thing, going back to my original point on this, the legal roundtable in KWMU, all 3 of the attorneys gave different opinions, and one of them cited a state law, one of them cited a county law, and essentially, what it comes down to is there's going to be, matter of fact, it was sort of funny because they talked about there was a court hearing the other day in front of one of the judges, and one of the people were making their point, and the judge says, "So what?"
Yeah. That was about the fact that there had been no precedent of the governor appointing the prosecutor, and the judge's quote was, "So what?"
Yeah, so don't you love it when you're in front of a judge and you're making your point as an attorney, and Your Honor, I feel blah 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 blah, and the judge says, "So what?"
Brad, that sounds like the kind of thing you would hear in court.
Yes, which I have heard in court, but that's a whole other story. See, this whole thing, you and I look at it, and here's what I like about this. You and I can laugh about it because it's laughable. You know what I mean? And once again, it's like we need to resurrect Rodney King from the grave and have him come back and have the ghost of Rodney King show up in the state of Missouri and walk into the county council, walk into the state house in Jefferson City and utter those words, "Hey, can't we all just get along? Can't we all just get along?" No, we can't. And once again, it's like the goofy thing you point up to deal with Holly on 93.3 on Tracy's station. Once again, she's 99.9% a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, but that 0.1%, she's a rhino, so we don't like her, and we're going to blow her up on social media, right? Is that how it goes?
Yes, you're exactly right, Brad. And speaking of Rodney King, I had a seance the other day because I followed your advice. I wanted to bring back Rodney King, and all I got was the founder of King's Beauty Supply. So I ended up swimming in a pool of relaxer. It felt like I was back in gym class, honestly, at Hazelwood East.
Well, at least
I'd go to gym class and I'd come out and I'd I'd feel like a lot of relaxer, you know.
At least you didn't put on any calories, because it could have been King's Hawaiian bread, and then you would have been, putting on calories with all those carbs, right?
Oh, touche.
Okay. And you know what? You know what is really screwed up with our show so far, John? This entire, you know what? It's been 2 weeks. Matter of fact, I have an official chart. It's been 2 weeks since we've mentioned something very important to the show. You know what's important to the show?
Ooh, I give up.
We have to mention red hot riblets every once in a while.
It's been 2 weeks, Brad.
Okay, we have to take a break. We'll be back.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?